So welcome everyone. Thank you very much for your time today to attend our Design Inspire webinar. I am Daisy Ip, Director of the UK, Benelux and Ireland of the Hong Kong Trade Development Council, HKTDC. We are very honored to have experts with us today to share the industry's latest developments and also opportunities in Hong Kong and Asia in the creative and design sectors. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. This webinar will be in 4 parts. First, we will have an opening remarks by Ms. Deborah Daunton, Chief Executive of the Design Business Association. Then I'll give a quick update on the latest design industry in Hong Kong and the Greater Bay Area, followed by 2 case studies from the Wynn and Foster's and Environmental Street Furniture on UK-Hong Kong creative and design collaborations. And lastly, there will be a panel discussions moderated by Chloe Law, Department for International Trade, Hong Kong and Macau. So now, without further ado, may we have Ms. Deborah Daunton to open the webinar. Thank you, Deborah.
Daisy, thank you very much indeed. It's great to be able to be with you here this morning. I run, as Daisy said, the UK Trade Association for Design, and so the internationalisation, that's got to get your teeth in right in the morning to say that one, is a key priority for us, and opening up that opportunity to the design industry. And I was trying to think of an analogy, and the best that I can think of is the world of food. So if we think about the idea of fusion food, it's an easy concept to understand, and it's probably an even easier proposition to eat, in my opinion. It's a form of cooking that combines contrasting culinary traditions or techniques into a single dish. Now, other forms of food fusion combine maybe 2 different culinary disciplines evenly to create something that is new and distinctive. It often combines ingredients and cooking methods of 2 or more regions, and it's popular because of the fact that it offers something unique and distinctive. Now, arguably one of the oldest food fusions, and I didn't know this until I looked it up yesterday, is pasta. Would you believe it? As many believe it to be a descendant of the Chinese noodle brought to the Italians in the 13th century. Closer to home, the Edwardians also celebrated food fusion. The combination of Indian and English foods produced dishes like kedgeree, adapting a traditional mix of rice and lentils known in Indian cuisine as khichdi for English tastes. Malaysia is a place full of food fusions. Home to their own exciting native cuisine, as well as a strong influence of Chinese, Thai and Indian food. And street food also plays a vital role in the everyday lives of Malaysian citizens. Allegedly, one of the world's first fusion restaurants resides in Macau, where a blend of Cantonese flavours with olives and chorizo from Portugal date back around 450 years. Now, you won't be surprised to find out that I wasn't asked to come here this morning and give you a talk about food, but I was asked to talk to you about fusion, and it's the fusion in design. You see, it happens exactly the same way as it does in food. If you combine the ingredients and cooking methods of 2 or more regions, something unique and distinctive is created. And that is what I'm here to encourage you to do today. The fusion of design with culture and markets of Hong Kong and the Greater Bay Area is a really exciting opportunity for business. I'm here to encourage you to create new and distinctive business opportunities through design, whether you're a business here today or a design or creative agency here today. You're going to hear about some great case studies. You're going to see some wonderful work. You're going to hear from those that know a lot more than me about the extent of those opportunities. But what I can lend to this event is that from my experience, when designers start to submerge themselves in new cultures, in new markets, in new disciplines, unique and distinctive outcomes are sure to follow. What I can also tell you from my experience is that the UK design industry has a reputation for commercial success as well as creativity. So commerciality and creativity. And I believe it's the job of a designer to create desirability and usability in everything that they design. That requires them to care passionately about what they do, yes, but even more for those that they do it for. So yes, they need to care passionately about the businesses that they work with, But I think their end goal is the people that they're delivering their products or services to. They care passionately about making sure that what they design is successful in that realm. If you care passionately about creating a fusion dish that only you can eat, then you're really in the space of self-expression. And that's the space that artists occupy. The design area cares passionately about the fusion of, say, a brand or a business with its customers, whether that's about getting them to buy something, to understand something, to experience something, or even to change their behaviour. Now, this is borne out in the DBA Design Effectiveness Awards, and I would encourage you to take a look at the 200 plus case studies that we have on our website that feature design solutions from across the world, from across a broad range of industry sectors, and in a variety of design disciplines, everything from healthcare apps to retail environments, from packaging to industrial design. Second to the US, we're the biggest exporter of design services, the industry sector whose knowledge and skills are sought after. It's perhaps no surprise that when brands are looking to invest in their success in global markets, that the majority of the consultancies supporting them in that are from the UK. It's helped to drive the experience of our sector in understanding global markets across every design discipline, which is why I would encourage businesses here today not to take any risks and not to invest in anything less than a proven track record when you're looking at the design businesses that you work for. And I'm happy to help you introduce to businesses that have that proven track record. Now, there's another feature of UK design that I want to stress today. We produce specialists, designers whose knowledge of industry sectors or of disciplines is deep. They'll find that fusion solution faster than others. And like all experts in their field, they'll cost more. But they might just get your product or service to market faster, say 3 months faster. And I've seen design investment paid back in days on successful projects. So you need to weigh up these types of decisions in your selection processes. We boast some of the largest design consultancies globally, and that may be important to mitigate risk for a very big brand. We boast the pioneers that enable businesses to launch new products and services more successfully, yielding a greater return on their investment because of their knowledge and experience in your sectors and their understanding of the risk involved in business startups. The DBA is the trade association for design in the UK. I mentioned that at the start. And we boast the best and the brightest among our membership. We boast the most effective. We boast the pioneers. We can boast about the large and the small. We can boast about the safe pair of hands and the wild card. And we're here to help introduce you to the right designers if you're a business here today. And to the designers in the audience today, particularly those that don't know this market, allow me to introduce you to the team at HKTDC and to the team at DIT. They are the business version of the DBA, and they can smooth your journey into Hong Kong and the Greater Bay Area. We have an amazing team in those two organisations. Even the fusion chefs of the past had a tour guide, someone to take them by the hand and introduce them to the markets and flavours of new regions. So tap into the experts. We can help you get ready for new markets and help you in market. Listen to the experience of others and decide if this fusion of design and a new market, a new region, or something like this is right for you. What I'm certain of is that if you step into this new world, you will create new and distinctive offers for business and be changed as a designer forever. So good luck with your internationalization, if I can learn to say the word properly. Daisy, back to you.
Thank you very much, Deborah, for such a good welcome remarks for everyone. And now, may I just quickly give everyone an update? But before that, let me just share the screen. I hope everyone could see the PowerPoint now. So Deborah mentioned about the fusion of commercial expert and also creativity. And I'm here to present the commercial aspect of the opportunities coming from Hong Kong and the Greater Bay Area. And we will have experts, Javan and Ellen, to share the creative projects they're doing in the regions. So for some of you, I'd like to highlight a few key points from the latest policy address just announced by our Chief Executive, Mrs. Carrie Lam, in October, which hope to position Hong Kong as Asia's city of design and creativity. The Hong Kong HKSAR Government is planning to set up a culture, sports and tourism bureau to coordinate and promote work related to cultural and creative industries, focusing on 5 areas. First, to develop world-class cultural facilities and a pluralistic cultural environment, and also strengthens our connections with overseas art and cultural organizations like the DBA, and enhance cultural exchange and cooperations with the mainland. Also leveraging on technology and nurturing talents in the creative industries. There's already expansion of talent list to include professionals in art, technology, building on creative and design industry talent list. There's also non-governmental partner is invited to design, construct, and operate a water sports complex, which will be located at the Shackle Quarry site. We are also refining requirements on legal and dispute resolutions with a view to complement Hong Kong future policy to develop key areas of art, design, and cultures. Of course, many of you are aware of the flagship projects of the West Kowloon Cultural District in Hong Kong, namely the M+ Museum, the Hong Kong Palace Museum, the Lyric Theatre Complex, as well as the East Kowloon Cultural Centre and the Kai Tak Sports Park will be completed successively in the coming years. And some of you might have visited or aware of the Hong Kong Shenzhen Design Innovation Hub, now named as the Bridge, Qinghai Shenzhen, was opened in 2019 in the Greater Bay Area. It becomes an exchange platform to boost further collaborations between Shenzhen, Hong Kong, and overseas companies in the design and creative industries. So with these all new cultural landmarks and the 5 major policy directions to support cultural development in Hong Kong, the vision to develop Hong Kong into a cultural metropolis will soon be realized. And this will definitely offer ample business opportunities for international companies in the design and creative sectors. So what is the Greater Bay Area? Some of you are probably very familiar with it. It includes 11 cities, has a population of more than 86 million people, which is larger than that of the UK, with a combined GDP of nearly 1.7 trillion US dollar. The region's economy is comparable to that of South Korea. And the GBA is one of China's wealthiest regions, offering a huge consumer market opportunities. The Greater Bay Area offers a myriad of opportunities for overseas companies in various sectors, including creative industries, consumer products, and much more. For international businesses, the most effective way to tap into this market would be by working with Hong Kong, which is a 2-way business and investment hub with close connections with the mainland, and in itself is part of the Greater Bay Area. Just to help you to visualize the size of the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau Greater Bay Area in comparison to other Bay Areas in the world, the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau Greater Bay Area has the highest real GDP growth and also populations. So at HKDC, we have identified 3 potentials for the GBA for international businesses. So first, for lifestyle products, the GBA is a strong ground and a launchpad to tap to the potential of mainland's domestic consumptions, a huge market for quality design, goods, and services. According to a TDC survey in 2020, consumers in mainland Greater Bay Area cities have become increasingly interested in quality products and services from all over the world. And in the foreseeable future, the Greater Bay Area consumer market is set to develop into a more open and internationalized market, which will attract the entry of quality products and services. Also, another TDC survey found that many consumers from the 9 mainland Greater Bay Area cities are regular visitors to Hong Kong. As such, international companies eyeing on the GBA's consumer market can start by setting up in Hong Kong or selling to Hong Kong to test the markets. So British lifestyle and design-led products and services can sell to the GBA through the Hong Kong platform, such as exhibiting at fairs at Hong Kong. At the HKTDC, we normally organize over 40 product and service trade fairs every year, with many buyers from the mainland, including the GBA. And the other potential is the infrastructure and real estate sectors. And another important aspect of the Bay Area plan is to strengthen infrastructure and build connectivity within the region. And has a lot has already happened in this regard. The GBA is one of the world's biggest market for industries related to urbanizations that will be including design and architecture industries. More infrastructure projects are expected to come on stream, demanding international level professional expertise, and the opportunities are boundless. And last but not least, also highlighted by Deborah earlier, is the cultural exchange. With the strategic locations at the heart of Asia, Hong Kong will continue to be the important place to bring together cities and countries, providing a hub for different cultures to meet, influence on one another, and evolve. And finally, please allow me to remind all that we at the HKTDC is ready to help the UK business community to seize the opportunities. It's part of our missions to support and promote Hong Kong's role as a link connecting international companies to opportunities in the Greater Bay Area and mainland China. We do this through our world-class international conferences and trade fairs, as well as business missions, business matching, and other services. And one of which is the Design Inspire. And I'm sure some of you, Javon, Chloe, Ellen, all of you here have heard and also even participate in the past. This year, we have revamped it as a year-round online platform to facilitate business to grow throughout the whole year. Something about just a quick intro about the Design Inspire is partnered with the Hong Kong Design Center and is part of the Business of Design Week. Some of you have already participated, spoke at, and even joined in the past. Since 2017, Design Inspire, we have over 600 exhibitors, over 1,800 projects, and more than 97,000 visitors. UK, as a lot of us are aware, has been the partnering countries in 2006. And since last year, Design Inspire has moved into an online platform. And so far, we have more than 150 virtual showcase, 260 designers, and more than 160,000 page views since we launched it last year. It will be a year-round OTO campaign with virtual showcase, designer stories, interactive experiences, digital workshops, and a lot of the publicity exposures. This is just some of the examples of the virtual showcase on the platform. Ongoing throughout the whole year, we feature designer stories on our platforms through the TDC channels and also our media partners. There is already some digital interactive solution content on the platform that you're welcome to have a look, and we welcome to more art tech content to be put on the platform in the next year. So thank you, and anyone who is interested to know more about Design Inspire and the services we offer, please do get in touch. So thank you very much, and now may I pass to the platform to Javon and Ellen.
Thanks, Daisy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Daisy. Thanks, Deborah, as well. I really enjoyed the fusion metaphor and the description of what it's like to work in Hong Kong. I thought that really hit the nail on the head. I wanted to describe. I've been given the opportunity here, I suppose, to describe our project, which was a 2-year project with MTR and Hong Kong Design Centre and DIT. I've got 8 minutes to try and tell you a little bit about it. So I'm going to start with some slides just to show you a little bit about what we did. I'm the founder of Wyndham Foster. We produce work all over the world, and I would say that of the 20 cities we've worked in, Hong Kong would be one of the easiest, most straightforward, the most enjoyable cities, I suppose, to work with. And the reason why is because all the films we make, all the installations we produce are really challenging. They're all very difficult to make. They involve working with multiple dance companies, they involve members of the community, they involve business, they involve cultural organizations, and the end product is always, as you can see here in Hong Kong, to install a large-scale piece of art. Our project was called This Is Wan Chai, and the slide you're looking at right there is the final installation. It's a 220-meter wayfinding carousel. When you get off the train in Wan Chai in Hong Kong, you walk through the corridors of the station and through the overflow areas up to the ticket hall, and the idea is that you're walking past the Hong Kong Ballet, who are racing across the city. The idea came from Moving Cities, which is a project that we at Wyndham Foster have been working on for about 6 to 7 years. The idea is to tell a story about a city through dance. We work with the local contemporary dance and the local ballet companies within the city to turn the city into a stage. And in each city, that process manifests into either a piece of cinematic work, which is then exhibited through large-scale LEDs, like here in Los Angeles, or it is brought to life in a physical print installation, as it was in Hong Kong. The brief for us was really to work with, as you can see here, a very green station. MTR wanted to almost, do something quite impossible. They wanted to create a piece of work that was an antidote to the advertising throughout the station. They wanted to say something about their people's railway, and they wanted to do it with dance, which is why we got involved. It was a very difficult multi-stakeholder process that we had to walk through to do something that was anywhere near creative. As you can imagine, it's when you're working with multiple stakeholders, all of them artistic, and a lot of them coming from a business point of view, you really have to make sure that you're communicating very clearly on every level. Our job was to cover this station pretty much in something that works not just for the passenger experience, but could also represent what Wan Chai was actually about and the identity of the station. We went through multiple iterations of storyboards and treatments, but at the heart of it was this kind of really strong partnership, which, as Deborah kind of inferred earlier on, couldn't have been possible without the help of Chloe, Daisy, Richard, the Department of International Trade. They really helped us try to navigate and understand this new way of working, because in each city you have different challenges, but in Hong Kong it was slightly different for us because everything was bigger and everything was more ambitious, and the reason for that was because the capability was there to deliver something that was that much bigger, which was exciting for us but also very demanding at the same time. So I suppose what I'm trying to say is that is exciting for any type of business. You have the ability to make something quite monumental, I suppose, and to also have the team and the international partnerships to do that. Our main artistic partner was Hong Kong Ballet, and at the center of Hong Kong Ballet is Septime Weber, who's just an incredible, like everyone you meet in Hong Kong, just an incredible entrepreneurial doer. And we worked with 50 of their dancers and 500 community members to produce the installation. As you can see here, we're working in a green screen studio on the 8th floor of the Hong Kong Cultural Centre. Another example of a challenge that we overcame. We normally shoot on the street, we normally shoot in real places. It's a documentary approach and format, but we had to, due to various ongoing protests and various kind of incidents within the city at the time, we had to move a 5-day shoot onto into a ballet studio and recreate the entire city of Wan Chai pretty much through green screen, which you couldn't, I would say you couldn't do in most cities. You couldn't do that with, I think there was something like 7 main partners involved, production partners on that project. But we were able to do that. We were able to avoid cancelling the project and carry on and create actually something quite amazing. We were actually, in some ways, able to do more with that restraint and able to deliver a better result. It's very difficult trying to recreate the atmosphere of a city, especially when you want real people involved, but we also managed to get the community on board through that process. The challenge just made it more exciting. And that wasn't the only challenge. There were multiple challenges involved when you're working with dancers and when you're working with members of the community who don't really know much about this process and specifically about ballet. The end result is, I've got a short video clip to kind of go through, take you a little tour of the end result, but the end result really was this incredible installation, which is permanent and has inspired other projects. And we're still working in Hong Kong today. We've just completed a project called Twin Cities, which compares two journeys in London and in Hong Kong and highlights the differences, yet the very real complementary similarities that we have, and the sibling-like relationship between London and Hong Kong. So for us, it was such a great experience that it's been really easy to germinate and to evolve new opportunities. I'm going to attempt to try and switch from these slides now to a video, and I can show you a little bit of a tour of what the actual project looks like. Here we go. So the final product is viewed by 200,000 people a day, we've been told by MTR, and in that video you don't really see that amount of people because of the restrictions of filming in the MTR. But we're really proud of that work, and it's won quite a few accolades and awards, and it exemplifies how you can deliver for us a really difficult project in Hong Kong. So thank you, Daisy.
Thank you, Japan. It makes us want to go back to Hong Kong now. Thank you so much. And now may we have Alan to share his Hong Kong experience with us.
Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are around the world. Thanks to Deborah for a great introduction, and Daisy and Javan as well. My name is Alan Lowry. My company is Environmental Street Furniture. And for the past 4 years, we have been very actively working in Hong Kong, working with a number of different clients there, and also working with HKTDC and with the DIT team, who are there with Chloe and with Stephen and some of her other colleagues as well. So I just want to share the screen with you at the moment, just to give you a little bit of an idea of what we were involved with. Our main client that we worked with on our first project in Hong Kong was Walt Disney World there, and we were contacted by the Disney Imagineers, their design team, basically because they were about to open a new stage show, the Moana stage show that was being opened and designed in the Hong Kong park at the time. And basically part of the design brief came from them was that they wanted a wooden bench that didn't have any wood in it. It needed to be very strong for a lot of people to be able to sit on it and children to be able to jump on it and climb on it. And it also needed to be able to adapt to the Hong Kong weather, which is obviously very changeable from very hot sunny days through to very cold days, and also a lot of rain and moisture. So our design challenge really from creativity side was to come up with a product that could be fitted, could be mounted with hidden fixings, could be basically made ideally for what they wanted to do. So that the finished product, as you can see in the screen now, is what we made. There was over 100 of these benches, which were designed using a stainless steel inner honeycomb and then sealed with resin and then carved and sculpted. Basically to look like a timber finish. So our business is all about adding creativity to what can often be a very boring or a very simple product of street furniture. So our main core business is benches, litter bins, bollards, shelters, a lot of stuff that you would see in the outdoor domain. We term it as street furniture. It's also sometimes known as site furnishings as well. But what we as a company have tried to do is basically bring some creativity to that, and being able to work in Hong Kong through these products was excellent. A few more images, as you can see in the screen now, of what we were able to achieve. And in fact, the picture in the middle, the benches, more benches have since been installed right to the back of that process. So it was a great process for us to go into. We found Hong Kong, as Yvonne has already said, a very, very good place to work in. We got a lot of support from HKTDC, from DIT, both in the UK and in the Hong Kong office. And it just made it really simple for us to be able to go there and to be able to carry out a project such as this. So when I was there in Hong Kong, which would have been December 2 years ago, we actually set up some other meetings with some creative teams and landscape architects practices and consulting engineers. And from that, we were able to introduce this next product, which is a bench that has a built-in solar panel on it that actually allows you to provide some services to users. So this particular bench allows you to charge your cell phone, your mobile phone from it. It also provides Wi-Fi from the bench as well, with the use of the SIM card, and it can also be used for lighting as well. There's LEDs built into it which come on in the evening. You can see that some people choose to add logos and things underneath that. So we're harnessing technology, particularly in somewhere like Hong Kong, where there's a lot of sunshine, and basically using it for that. So we launched this bench in 2017. My first visit to Hong Kong was 2018, and we started to introduce it. So we're now delighted to say that this bench is being involved in design work right along the waterfront in Hong Kong, working with some of the consulting engineers there and some of the designers. And what we were able to do with this was basically make it into different shapes and sizes. So we kept the same technology, and using our creative guys, we were able to maybe have it look like a carnival funfair bench, or maybe have it look like it was made out of a piece of Lego, as you can see in the bottom left picture there as well. So, you know, it's using people's imagination and taking original ideas and building them into what otherwise could be a very simple product. So we've taken this on to the next step from what was our standard Stellar bench at the time, and we've actually designed a new range of solar benches which look exceptionally like standard benches. And each of these, what would normally be wooden slats in the bench, are actually solar panels. And each of these solar panels collects in the energy, stores it with an internal battery system, and you can literally just set your phone on the bench beside you and have a charge up from that. So we're delighted to say that we've actually launched the benches this week at COP26 in Glasgow. We have some of these benches in display there for the great of the world who are visiting over the next 2 weeks. And a lot of what we do is about building in technology, taking creativeness and actually adding it into that. So we're delighted to say in Hong Kong, we've worked with Disney, we've worked with Ocean Park. We're also now obviously working in the smart cities field as well, which has been really good. And certainly we would encourage anyone given the opportunity to engage with the HKTDC and engage with the DIT office there, because certainly they made our journey into Hong Kong much easier than otherwise it might have been, and it was in other countries. As a business, we've exported to 27 countries since the business was formed 9 years ago. And I have to say Hong Kong is most definitely one of the easiest places to do business. So that's a quick snapshot of what we're about, and I'll hand back to Daisy now if I can.
Thank you, Alan. And it's great to hear that your bench is actually at the COP26 and everyone is there at the moment. And so will be really well sought after product for the GBA with all the smart cities developing at the moment. So thank you, Alan and Javon. And now may I pass on to the part 4 of this webinar, that will be the panel discussions to be moderated by Chloe Law from the DIT Hong Kong and Macau.
Hi, everyone. Good morning to those in the UK, and good afternoon or evening, depending where you are. Like Daisy said, I'm Chloe, and I am based in Hong Kong, working for the Department for International Trade. I work with my other colleague, Stephen, and we cover Hong Kong and the Macau markets. Just before we jump into the session, I'd also like to welcome Richard Perry, my counterpart, the head of Experience Economy at Department of International Trade, who's joining on audio only, so you might not see his face, but he's here with us together with Daisy, Alan, as well as Javon on the panel. I'd also encourage and invite our audience to participate and put in questions to the panel via the chat function if you have any. And it doesn't matter if you have a question now or if you have a question later, just pop it in the chat and we'll get it answered. To start off, I am going to look at Ellen. Your business focus more on innovative products, and we've seen very impressive projects of yours. Can you tell us a little bit more on how design inspire and add value to kind of the new paradigm of a highly technological world today?
Thanks, Chloe. I think one of the challenges we have as a business is that there has been a real increase over the last number of years in collecting information from a technological perspective. You know, smart cities is all about IoT, it's all about Internet of Things, and it's about how we build cities and how we build spaces for the future. So there's a lot of information gathered, which can be to do with traffic flow or the amount of pedestrians moving about. It can be to do with climate change, as we're seeing at COP26. It can be to do with temperature and stuff. And one of the challenges we've had is being able to use sustainability through the use of solar technology, building that into our products to then be able to collect that information in a way that doesn't require a large infrastructure. So a lot of this information is collected by the use of cables and fiber optics and stuff, but that's a very, very expensive infrastructure build. And from our perspective, if we can do that remotely through the use of 4G, 5G technology and basically use solar power to power that, it makes it an awful lot easier. So I think, you know, keeping something that still looks really good, but yet focuses on getting the information that people need in this highly technological world is a real challenge for us. I think we've all seen huge solar panels stuck on the top of lighting poles and stuff, which while they serve a great purpose, they don't do any purpose at all for design. So I think, you know, part of what we're trying to do is to try and come along with a lot of new ideas and new solutions, really, to try and help solve that. So hopefully that answers your question.
And thank you, Ellen. And Jovan, moving to you. What do you think on design inspiring and adding value to our world today? And perhaps how can business adapt?
I think that the challenges for us in that respect are always welcome, because they help us. Those constraints help us actually be more creative. We're always having to adapt to different circumstances, and whether it's different cities, whether it's the actual events within a city, which changes our approach. I think that the nature of our business is to adapt, is to create in the circumstances we're given. And so, yeah, so it's actually luckily part and parcel of what we do.
And if I can just add on to that, so with the advancement of 5G and kind of more new technologies coming in, like cryptocurrency, how do you think it affects your business, Jovan, and Ellen, if you want to come on to it as well? Not so much.
Yeah, I mean, for us, in terms of new technologies, it's always, I mean, for example, in our most recent project in Hong Kong with the British Council, we were asked to produce a live film for an online festival that was interactive, that sat within Teams and sat within an online space, and that's a new proposal. It's not been done before, and if it has, it's not been done a lot, and so. I suppose we relish that, we relish that kind of challenge in the same way that, Alan pointed out, that his work is now having to complement the new environment in which we live by having furniture that thinks in terms of energy. So the new technologies, I mean, I can't say much about cryptocurrency because we haven't actually crossed that path yet, but in terms of new technologies, if we don't stay on the edge, then it makes it more difficult in some ways. And one of the great things about all our partners in Hong Kong is that they kind of it's not that we found them highly skilled, we just found them interested in new technologies more than in other cities. And I don't know why that is. Maybe it's the fusion Deborah was talking about that creates that curiosity and intrigue. I don't know. But yeah, Alan, I don't know if you...
Yeah, we haven't had to cross the cryptocurrency bridge yet either. Thankfully, I think that's something that may come down the line. There definitely is more talk about it. One of the challenges we have in a lot of the countries we do supply to is currency quite often, and is finding a currency that's acceptable to many. Obviously, Great British Pound Sterling is very much widely accepted. US dollar also widely accepted. But when we do work in the Middle East, and certainly in Africa and stuff, a lot of countries like to use their own currency. So I do believe over the next while, cryptocurrency will come into that. I think one of the things we did very much at the start of COVID was start to look at how we could introduce our products electronically. I mentioned earlier that we've exported to 27 countries and growing. And most of those countries were the business was secured by us actually visiting the countries and getting in front of potential partners and designers. Obviously, whenever COVID happened, that didn't allow us to do that. So we invested heavily in our website and rebranding the company and trying to position ourselves in that electronic world where before perhaps we really weren't there. We also launched an e-commerce site, which is something I swore up to that point we would never do, because I never saw our products as one that would be sold online. But interestingly enough, that this post-COVID world has changed things a lot for that. So I think, yeah, one of the challenges for a small company like ours, and one that's got a very entrepreneurial concept to it, is that just to keep seeing how the world around us is adapting and how we need to adapt and quite often lead that as well. We don't want to be following necessarily where things are going if we can actually lead them. So that sort of would be my thoughts on that.
Thanks, Alan. On that note, with your participation and involvement in Glasgow at COP26, I think your business sends an amazing message on taking a more ecological approach on both product design and also the products themselves. How does climate change and the kind of increased emphasis on sustainability influence your business perhaps furthermore?
I think it's really interesting. My business is called Environmental Street Furniture. And the word environment, going back 20 years ago, basically just meant being outside. You were out in the outdoor environment. Obviously, the connotations around that word have shifted a lot over the last sort of 10 years. And we as a business started almost being challenged by our clients to ask us what made us environmental. And eventually I got past being able to say it just means that we put products outdoors, and we needed to start looking to see how we could actually harness the green technology. So, a lot of our products are manufactured from 100% recycled plastic. In fact, over the last 2 years, we've started recycling McDonald's Happy Toys from the Happy Meals, and actually making street furniture from those. So that's a challenge, because using that type of material rather than maybe steel or wood, and we see a lot in the news about deforestation and stuff at the moment. And there was a treaty signed yesterday in Glasgow over trying to stop the deforestation. So we're trying to see large world challenges, but bring them down into a small business concept, and how we can actually build that technology into it. So, from the simple materials like recycled plastic that we can make the product from, to integrating the technology that I already mentioned, whether that be solar technology, wind technology, and just collecting what is already there. There's a lot more sunshine in somewhere like Hong Kong than there is in Belfast, which is where I live. So obviously we're trying to make products that are suitable for a global market and not just necessarily for specific markets. So again, that's a challenge. And every time we speak to someone now, they seem to want to collect some different information than somebody else wanted to collect before. So we're looking at how we can harness the power, store that, and reuse it again. So, I think it's always a challenge, a bit like Javan said, we thrive on challenges. We have an entrepreneurial business, and we like to see people coming up with new concepts and challenges that make it more creative, that we can then jump into and work with them to try and get some solutions for them.
And Javan, has the increasing emphasis on green and sustainability affect the way you run your business or the services of Wyndham Foster? I mean, maybe on the creative direction, or maybe it's actually already embedded in your creative process anyways.
I mean, we love, Beth and I enjoy flying, traveling, everything about going to other cities. It's very different having to produce remotely, and we have had to do a lot of that in the last 12 months, like most people, because of COVID. However, we have been made very aware of the current situation in terms of climate change through our work with the Institution of Civil Engineers in the last, we've been working with IC for about 10 years, but it's the fact that we're living in a climate emergency is just a little bit worrying, a bit scary. And now the idea of traveling anywhere doesn't seem as appealing, and not to say that aviation is obviously the only contributor. We all are in some way, shape, or form, but if we can reduce our carbon footprint, we always do now, because we've just been made through our work starkly aware of what's actually going on. In terms of the actual things we make, they are digital, and even when they do have a real life end products, such as in Hong Kong, we obviously worked with MTR and worked with their carbon and sustainability team to make sure that the end product had those credentials. But yeah, it's very difficult, but it's just one of the compromises I think we're going to have to make. We're just really lucky that we happened in the last few years to be working in Hong Kong and in a place where they had already adapted to this new environment. The idea of working remotely was just straightforward. Like I said, we've just produced this British Council piece of work, which was really, really difficult. It was really ambitious, and there wasn't a lot of money involved, yet we had the partners to make it happen, and it was seamless. And I don't think we could do that with, I genuinely don't think a lot of the partners we have in the States, I don't think could have replicated that way of working that quickly. I mean, they will, and they will, and I'm sure they're doing it right now, but it's just, you seem to have gone through SARS and various other events which have allowed you to already be ahead in that respect. So working without flying is easier, definitely, in Hong Kong.
Glad to hear that travel restrictions actually kind of changed the way you work with partners in Hong Kong in a fairly positive way.
Yeah.
So if I can move on to Ellen, is there any advices from you on how businesses can cater for kind of like a post-COVID world and the changing needs of the Asian business clients?
I think, post-COVID world is a challenge for all of us. I think, a lot of products suit being able to sell online and being able to sell electronically. One of the problems with our products is that they're quite a touchy-feely type product. People like to actually physically see them. They like to sit on our benches. They like to put litter in our trash cans, and they like to get an idea and a feel for what they're getting for their money. So I think it's a big challenge for us. I mentioned earlier that of all the countries we supplied to, we traveled to them. And interestingly enough, whenever the travel bans sort of came in 18 months ago, it was a real shock to our system, because that was how our business basically worked. And we quickly needed to adapt to something that worked in a different way. And, Siobhan has already said the necessity to get some really good partners and some really good business structure in each of the countries that we deal with is so important. And I think in Hong Kong particularly, the guys that we work with there, with yourself and with Stephen and DIT there, and with the HKTDC, and myself and Richard Parry were actually out at the Business of Design Week in December 2019 as well, and we find that as a great opportunity to introduce our products there. So I think we're still finding that a bit of a challenge about how exactly we can really operate post-COVID. And still be able to engage with as many countries as we do. Certainly travel is starting again. I'm off to Dubai this weekend, back over to the expo there, where we supplied a lot of products to the expo site. And I think, it's going to be great to get in front of our customers and see things again. But, I think with regards to supporting the market in Hong Kong, a lot of that will become a bit of a fusion of working with the partners we have there, but also having to try and get there as well. And just get in front of people again with regards to that whole credibility and just being able to introduce new concepts to it. So I think if anyone can find an answer for me for that, it would be great if they would share it with me, because I'm not quite sure what our answer is just yet.
I have a question from the audience. So the business have worked in Hong Kong on a major project, and actually the contractual difficulties can be challenging. And I wonder if Jivan or Ellen can share your experience with kind of the administrative requirements on your projects, or if you've encountered kind of similar issues, or it wasn't an issue for you guys when you were working on your projects.
I mean, what I would say is that we definitely obviously had to secure the services of a lawyer to look at the contract we had. We had definitely help from TIT in understanding that the way things the way clients operate slightly differently. I think that there are layers of bureaucracy depending on whether you're in we had a private public kind of partnership, so it was a little bit more complicated for us. But we kind of expected that. And I think that depending, Callum, on the nature of your work, we were working in quite a high risk, high liability kind of scenario. So there was a lot of the need to make sure that we were accountable and that we were taking our fair share of the risk was just necessary to document. And I just think you don't have the same laid back approach as you do with some other countries and with some other cities. So the legal side is paid as much attention to as the creative and as the hospitality side, and as the every part of the process has a lot of fine attention to detail, and that's what you might be seeing in the legal side. So it is a bit harder, but it's also on balance it works. Nothing to be frightened of that I came across.
And maybe Ellen, any to add on top of that?
I think from our perspective, the two clients that we've worked with in Hong Kong so far have both been private clients. So there's really been no governmental requirement with regards to contracts and administrative issues on it. I think certainly the contract we're working on currently for the smart cities side of it will have governmental input into that, and I think that will probably create more of a challenge for us with regards to how we handle that. But certainly with the private clients, we didn't really find it any more onerous than we did working in any other country. A lot of these are big global partners that we've been working with, and certainly they know their stuff, and as long as we have a good lawyer to read over everything before we enter into any contracts, I think that's the important side from us. So undoubtedly in any country, when the government or any side of that is involved in it, there are always going to be issues over contracts and making sure they can be smoothed out and deciding what jurisdiction things are looked after in and so on. But from our perspective, we really haven't had any issues with that, thankfully, so far.
And if I can just kind of move the timescale to a little bit earlier, to both Jivan and Ellen, what made you start looking at exporting? How has the kind of export journey for you? How do you sell your products or services to overseas markets like Hong Kong? How did you start?
For us, there was we were kind of, I suppose, match made by the Department of International Trade. They identified a certain approach we had, a certain project we had, and they put us together with the Hong Kong Design Centre and MTR. And through the dice in some respects, it was a very calculated gamble, but it really paid off. We traveled to Hong Kong, we were helped to travel to Hong Kong, we were advised, and we did what we did. We went out there, we performed, we pitched, and we were very lucky in some respects. When we got out there, we were told that we were kind of we weren't exactly, we were an outside bet. So had we not had that kind of advice and that advocacy in the first place, it would have been very difficult for us. But yeah, there is an incredible amount of thanks we have to DIT for the work they did, because we, you know, I don't want to keep talking about how challenging our project was, but even from the outset, we were working with trying to understand MTR's needs when they didn't really understand at first what exactly they wanted to do. Hong Kong Design Centre also was advising and was also part of the client, and they had their own agenda to do with the audience and the local community and what they need. Then there's the Hong Kong Ballet, who had just finished a massive commercial campaign, who already had a retained creative agency. So, you know, we were kind of like tourists walking into a meeting with an existing Hong Kong-based collective and stakeholder group. So for us, it was what looks like a really difficult high outside bet. We felt like it was a match made in heaven in some ways, actually.
And Ellen, how's yours?
I think from our perspective, Siobhan mentioned earlier that he loves to travel and he loves to see lots of new cities around the world. And I think that there's a bit of that in me as well. I've been involved in opening overseas offices for businesses probably for close on 30 years now. And that's been business as far away as California to the West Coast and Australia, east of us. So, you know, I have traveled a lot. My wife is ever suffering, as have my children been, for the amount of travel I've had to do. And I think, you know, we used DIT and we used the introduction through British embassies to basically identify opportunities in countries for us. So, you know, street furniture is quite often used in sort of urban regeneration, in city beautification. So we'll look at what's happening in the world. We'll look maybe at where the Olympics are being held or where the World Cup's being held. We'll look and see if there's maybe a World Expo happening in the country, and we'll pitch our products to that country based on what the country is going to do. And whether they're encompassing smart cities, whether they're encompassing maybe some new sporting event or whatever that happens to be. So, you know, when it came to Hong Kong, we were obviously aware that Disneyland, who was there, was involved in a massive expansion plan. We supply a lot of products to theme parks all around the world. We were aware Ocean Park was also expanding, and that there was other opportunities there for. So, you know, once there's one or two opportunities for us to pursue in any country, we really feel it's worth our while doing it. And we're a member of an organization called IAPA, which is the International Association of Theme Parks, and they held an exhibition in Hong Kong a couple of years ago, which we were able to exhibit at in partnership with DIT. And we were able to showcase our products there and basically talk to a lot of potential customers. So that's sort of how we'll target most countries whenever we'll look at them. As I say, many countries will enter for a specific purpose. You know, when you look at Dubai and the expo that's just opened there, we were already working in Dubai for many years, but, you know, 3 years ago we supplied product to Kazakhstan for the expo that was held there in 2017. 2 years before that to Milan in Italy, where the 2015 expo was held. So we'll try and look at what's happening in the world, and we'll try and see how we can target that. And I say that's similar to what happened in Hong Kong as well.
I see. So if I can, before I move on to Daisy, I just wanted to look at Richard, who's the mystery voice behind the video. I'm posting the hard question on you, Richard. So what roles do the DIT play in this kind of customer journey? I know Ellen and Javan has been singing praises for HKTDC as well as DIT, but kind of on a more practical point of view, how can DIT help?
Well, good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are. Sorry, my video isn't working. It's actually a bonus for you that it isn't. So look at that as a good thing. Well, I think that the DIT is all about connecting supply to demand. And it's a fairly simple concept in that the team here in the UK tries to understand UK capability in the creative industries. And then the Chloes of this world, and we have Chloes all around the world, try to understand local demand. And it's our job then to put one in touch with the other. And Javan's this excuse me, this is Wan Chai project is a really good example of that, which started life when Chloe connected me to a lady called Sam Lam from the Hong Kong Design Council. And she and I were just having a coffee and talking about Business of Design Week. And at the end of it, she said, well, while I've got you, I'm struggling with an idea that the MTR has, which is to beautify Wan Chai Station. Do you know any UK company that is involved in things like that? And of course, I knew Javan, put the two together. And as Javan said, it wasn't exactly straightforward, but a match made in heaven that was a great example of connecting supply to demand. And I'd say, Chloe, to finish off my answer, I guess there are three areas that we try to make this happen in. One is specific opportunities, like the one I've talked about. Secondly, trends, what's happening in market, what's new. I'm thinking of things like in Hong Kong, when tourism gets relaunched, what's going to happen about placemaking, because lots of people who visit Hong Kong tend to visit either Central or Tsim Sha Tsui and don't go to the other incredible places on the island and in the new territories. What about placemaking and the role that creativity can play there? And also post-COVID, regeneration of city centres and places which have suffered from lack of footfall because of lack of commuting and because of online retail and all those things. And finally, specific events. Alan mentioned the IAPA show, which was in Hong Kong a few years ago. It's coming back to Hong Kong next year, and we'll be facilitating a UK group going to that, and things like Business of Design Week and Knowledge of Design Week, which are set piece opportunities for us to help make those connections. Chloe, I hope that answers your question.
Yes, I mean, maybe I'll look at Daisy now. More specifically, is it possible for TDC to help? Well, it's possible, of course, but how would TDC help businesses to reach out perhaps to a specific audience, and how do you facilitate that from the TDC side?
Thank you, Chloe, and thank you everyone today to share so many amazing stories. So as I mentioned, the TDC's part of our mission is to support and promote Hong Kong as a road to link connecting international businesses and opportunities through Hong Kong to the Greater Bay Area and also beyond. One of the key activities we do is through our trade shows and also our conferences, and Design Inspire is one of the really great events that we do annually. And this is in fact how we met all together, Ellen and Javan, and also some of the audience here. I can see Joseph and also Steve, and all of you here have joined TDC events. So this is one of the key activities and one of the things that we offer, that is trade show conferences, as well as business trade missions, that is connecting companies to capture the advantage and also the opportunities in Hong Kong. And of course, with DIT, Hong Kong Design Center, DBA, we all work very collaboratively together to promote what the opportunities are and how we connecting all the dots through all the stakeholders. So this is the key role for us, and also we hope to work closer to all the local communities and also with DIT and also all the other organizations.
Perfect. I think that brings an end to today's panel discussion and Q&A session. I guess I'll pass it back to Daisy.
Thank you, Chloe. Well, in fact, thank you so much, everyone who speak at our event today. And I know Deborah really had a really busy schedule, and she really made time this morning to give a very, very inspiring, thought-provoking welcome remarks, and also Javan's story and Alan's stories really help us to really remember what Hong Kong looks like, as we haven't been back to Hong Kong for so long now. So hopefully we'll be able to bring everyone to Hong Kong to capture what we've discussed today about the opportunities out there in Hong Kong and the GBA. And yeah, thank you everyone. And the recording will be made available to all the participants who cannot join us today or who has to leave early. But thank you. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you. Cheers.